Is the dam, and there's some water coming over right now, which is a good thing. There isn't always, but I'm always happy when I drive in and see any amount of water coming over that dam. Little boys down here.
They are.
Out of flat surfaces, but instead bumpy terrain. I came across this phrase in one of my notebooks the other day. I had written the sentence during the midst of my travels to your farms this year. I'm often inspired as I drive up and down through the nooks and crannies of these hills, interacting with all of you. The phrase is a reflection of the creativity, optimism, and tenacity that I find in these hills. And it is also a statement about what arises when we hit bumps in the roads, when our plans don't go as anticipated, when our vision is altered, when the details, when reality enter the picture. I couldn't be more proud of how this year went, especially as I read through the report forms that you so dutifully filled out and sent in to me, so thank you for that. But in the midst of a lot of successful stories, this year's projects also had a host of interesting challenges beyond the typical delays in construction timelines, adjustments to budgets, and weather challenges. Instead, we encountered things like a GPS unit that was hard to operate so that a corn maze design did not turn out just as expected, a pasteurizer purchased from Pennsylvania that did not meet North Carolina health requirements, and add that to the typical ups and downs, health problems, relationship issues, and job changes. And through these struggles, I watched how you responded and were forced to become even more creative and tenacious. I often wish that the word failure could be deleted from our vocabulary, and instead we could replace it with lessons learned. For if you don't try, how will you ever learn? Now our ag leaders ask you what you want to grow instead of telling you what to do. Because of this, we are a thriving, diversified ag system in our region. So be ready. You are setting an example for a diversified ag system for other regions across the nation. They will be looking our way and asking for our advice. I hope you embrace that opportunity. In the last 3 years, I have been overwhelmed with the popularity of this program. And I've thought, is it really because of a $3,000 or $6,000 grant when your yearly expenses are often 3 times that? Is it the boost of confidence that you receive when you get the grant? Or is it just because everyone loves working with talented people like you? Is it the sense of hope when we all get together and see what we can do as a system? You are a source of optimism at a time when we often turn on the TV and see bad news. So thank you.
A couple things I have learned is that if you're going to pour a slab, it's going to rain. If you're going to do a building, it's going to cost a whole lot more than you put down on paper, no matter how many times you go to Lowe's and write down the numbers. Also found that selling rabbit meat, you don't want it to look like a rabbit. You want it to look like meat.
Our lesson learned came as, even though we powered up really hard and got everything ready and we had, I think, a good arrangement in place, the economy was very hard on that market, and as we were there day after day, we learned the demographics were pretty different from what we might have assumed, and so we decided that we would cut that in the middle of summer.
We had a hard time finding bees this year, so I put us behind about 3 weeks in production, but we were still able to meet our production demand.
The grant helped us accomplish goals, and we probably will see most of the benefits of this project in 2 to 3 years coming down the road as we grow our business. We're in a position now to take the next step forward. Our hive numbers are where we want it. We had a tremendous year this year.
Let's see, we learned that everything takes longer than you expect, but fortunately during that time of delays we actually identified a different way that we want to do our water heating system that will be a lot more economical and environmentally sustainable. So those delays can have some benefits too. So.
I also don't believe in failure, and I think a good quote to live by is try anything twice. At least then you'll know whether it's a success or a failure.
The challenges we face always, because we're vegetable farmers and the market's fickle and you never know what it's going to be from year to year. I think overall it's been a great year because this was a good year for vegetables anyway.
The thing that I learned, if I learned one thing, is that I can't cram with building projects like I used to be able to in school. This year was a great year for us because although we lost a greenhouse this past year, we were able to build a new greenhouse. We also got a heating system that uses waste vegetable oil. So we're very, very close to being extremely self-sufficient on the farm there.
One of the challenges, we decided we were going to grow beans and we were going to grow corn and tomatoes and the typical kinds of things that people in that area would buy to put up and can. But we were also going to grow pumpkins, so we had lots of pumpkin fields. And one of them flooded and we ended up with many, many, many pumpkins floating down the river. But we did have enough to do the farm tours, so that was great.
The other thing that we learned, both with the shiitake production and on our farm this year, is that when we're budgeting time and when we're working with employees, we can't assume that an employee will work as hard as my husband.
Tenacity is the reality for all of us, and it certainly has been the hallmark of what's helped me survive and my determination about this overlooked agricultural forest resource of our mosses.
Challenges have been time management. Oftentimes when you construct a project, as many people have already said, you don't have control of the weather and other people.
Biggest challenge we had is everything just didn't go up as quick as we wanted it to go up and weren't able to follow through. So we've got a lot more building to do, a lot more cleaning up to do, but hopefully next spring it'll all come together a lot better.
And the challenge is, well, it's just in farming. You start in January and it's a new challenge every day, every year. And everybody has their journey. In my situation, I had kind of come through some challenging parts of life. And so I found myself looking at the farm as then becoming a full source of income. And so failure is always out there on the other side, but really wasn't an option.
I've been raising alpacas for about 10 years, and I got a $3,000 grant to purchase some fiber processing equipment so that I could do my own processing in the home. And that helped me to solve a pretty expensive business problem, because I had to send my fiber out to a mill, typically outside the state, to have it processed into a finished product.
I'm a chef, not a farmer. There's several things, and I think I learn something new every year when I'm on this farm or I visit other farms. I think the biggest challenge is communication. I miss the window of ripeness of the tomatoes. I just thinking, well, I got them that time last year. I'm going to get them this time this year. Well, that's just a lesson learned.